HCV View Live Uncut. And I'm your host, the guy that lifts barbell plates, eats T-bone steaks, and still has a demeanor that's sweeter than a chocolate cake, John Arhitis. And of course, we're talking the latest and greatest in Hudson County news. So, obviously, we have 3 districts and 6 assembly seats that are going to be contested in this June 10th primary. And it looks like over in the 33rd, which is North Hudson, it's a caucus. We have some opponents for Larry Weinstein and Assemblyman Gabe Rodriguez. Of course, they're supported by State Senator and Union City Mayor Brian Stack, as well as the Hudson County Democratic Organization. And it looks like they're going to be taking on North Hudson developer Tony Hector and a county director by the name of Frank Alonzo. There's a lot of history there, so we're going to tell you all about that. And I don't think there's really too much that I'm going to have to say other than their remarks coming out hard against Brian Stack right off the bat. So we're going to chat a little bit about that. Of course, a big story that broke at the end of last week was that the proposed school district budget from Trenton has a $4 million cut approximately for the Jersey City Board of Education. So quite a few public officials came out against that, some stronger than others. So we'll walk through all the moving parts there. Also going to talk a little bit what's going on in the Peninsula City. We actually have a new business administrator as of yesterday, and the former business administrator is going to the law department. So we're going to tell you about the logistics there. And of course, there's always something going on in the Mile Square City as well. In this instance, there's a new PBA contract that's good for 8 years. We also know that Leprechaun had no arrest this year for the first time ever in Mile Square City history. And today I'm going to be sitting down with Jersey City Ward D Council candidate Jake Ephros. All that and a whole lot more right after this word from our sponsors.
No one plans on heart disease, but everyone should have a plan for it. We help patients of all lifestyles and medical histories plan for healthy hearts. We offer convenient screenings without judgment, hundreds of preventive programs, and women's heart specialists. And we're the largest cardiac surgery program in New Jersey. Make plans for a healthy heart with RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
Hudson County View Live Uncut, John Arhitis. So again, let's dive into this 33rd Legislative District race. Of course, this is a firefight where we've got the 2 North Hudson power brokers going at it. And again, that's State Senator and Union City Mayor Brian Stack and North Bergen Mayor Nick Sacco. A proxy war, as neither of them are on the ballot, but they obviously have 2 candidates each, and they're going to slug it out until this June 10th primary. So we heard on Wednesday evening that Miguel Tony Hector, who is a former North Bergen Board of Education trustee, is going to be one candidate. The other will be Hudson County Director and Superintendent of Weights and Measures, Frank Alonzo. For you longtime politicos, that name's probably familiar. We'll get to that in just a second. But more importantly, check out how they came out hard against Brian Stack. So Tony Hector said, "My campaign for the State Assembly is going to be about exposing Brian Stack's bosses of corruption, waste, and endless lust for political power to protect the taxpayers of North Bergen, Union City, West New York, Guttenberg, and Weehawken. We need independent Democrats who will fight for the people, not boss Stack." So obviously not leaving much to the imagination there. And when we heard from Alonzo, he was equally punchy, or at least close to it. He said Stack's government is a disgraceful waste machine, and we're going to expose all of the millions of state tax dollars he was squandering on political patronage, jobs, and contracts instead of delivering for the people of Union City. And he says that because Alonzo is a Union City resident. Now, again, they're going to be taking on Larry Weinstein and Assemblyman Gabe Rodriguez. And the interesting thing is, if, again, you guys that have been following this stuff for a really long time, you might remember that there was a North Bergen Concerned Citizen group and a Union City Concerned Citizens group that both formed in 2012. Of course, one of those were political opponents of Sacco, the other were political opponents of Stack. And the founder in North Bergen was Larry Weinstein. The co-founder in Union City was Frank Alonzo. So now, 13 years later, they're going to be competing for a state legislative seat. I also heard from Stack, and he didn't seem like a guy who was particularly bothered. He said, Tony Hector is just a pawn in the boss Sacco political machine that has taken advantage of government for years. Tony Hector's candidacy is a meager attempt by Sacco and his cronies to maintain power and continue to personally enrich themselves. Unfortunately, this election season will be muddied by my opponents. I anticipate they'll sink to new lows. I do think that voters will see through their desperate attempts to cling for power and reject their messaging by electing Gabe and Larry. So obviously this one is a main event caliber fight. Let's see what we get, but I think it's going to be a good one. So with that, let's get back to another thing I mentioned at the top of the program, which is what's going on with the Jersey City Board of Education. So for those of you that were paying attention last week, you remember that Governor Phil Murphy introduced his final budget, and that's a large one. It's $58.1 billion approximately. But the important part for us on the home front here is that includes a $4,005,363 cut to the Jersey City Public Schools. That would be the largest one in the entire state of New Jersey if it is approved by the legislature. And we heard from Hudson County Commissioner Bill O'Day, who's of course running for Jersey City Mayor. We also heard from Assemblywoman Jessica Ramirez of the 32nd, and Assemblywoman Barbara McCann-Stamato of the 31st. And finally, we also heard from State Senator Angela McKnight of the 31st. Excuse me. So now, when we're looking at this, last year, Jersey City Board of Education received $133,637,556 in state aid. And this year, it will be down to $129,632,193. And of course, that's assuming it goes through the legislature as is. So O'Day came out first, and he basically said all of leadership in Jersey City needs to take a stand, especially the legislative leadership needs to take a stand. And when we heard from McCann-Stamato, she had a take that was interesting. She said she's going to vote no on the budget if it stays the way it is because of the cuts to Jersey City and Bayonne. So Bayonne's not one that got as much chatter as Jersey City by any means, but they got about a 2% cut compared to the 3% cut in Jersey City. So their loss would actually still be fairly substantial, $3,132,509. And long story short, McCann-Stamato said, we cannot allow these cuts to stand. If the state does not prioritize our students and their education, I will not support the state's budget. Pretty clear there. And but I looked at this editorial, or when you look at this editorial from Assemblywoman Jessica Ramirez, she represents about 2/3 of Jersey City and all of Hoboken. So, one excerpt is this: these cuts will lead to larger class size, fewer programs that are straight on already overburdened teachers. Meanwhile, other districts across the state are receiving increases in funding. For years, Jersey City has been caught in a political tug-of-war over school funding. The state has argued that as our city's tax base has grown, we should contribute more to our schools locally. But the reality is that our district still serves thousands of working class and low-income families who rely on public education as the great equalizer. So there's a lot more, but I'm imagining most of you have seen a lot of this already. And then from State Senator McKnight, she basically said, I am displeased, discouraged, and disappointed by the proposal to make additional state aid cuts to Jersey City Public Schools, which will only make it increasingly difficult to address the needs of our students and teachers. And she went on to say that she is committed to working with state leadership to ensure that we could get to a better place for the city of Jersey City, specifically their Board of Education, their public schools. So with that, folks, we're about to go to another break. When I come back, I'll be sitting down with Jersey City Ward D Council candidate Jake Ephros.
Panapinto Properties, Jersey City, shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces and addresses your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment, adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panapintodevelopment.com. Panapinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and launch inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers a quality of life you deserve in one of our many high-rise towers. With amenities such as the on-site Newport Path, light rail, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Kohl's, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams and Acme Supermarket are just outside your front door. A health and fitness center, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. Enjoy the New York skyline from our waterfront and various parks. Manhattan is just one path stop away, or quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Looking to visit? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. For more information, visit us at newportnj.com. Make lasting memories to cherish forever. It's incredible. It's you, Newport. Live like you want.
Hudson County View Live Uncut. And as I mentioned a few moments ago, today my guest is Jersey City Ward D Council candidate Jake Ephros. Jake, thanks for coming in.
Hey, John. Thanks so much for having me on.
You're very welcome. So, look, we got a whole cavalcade of issues to discuss. Of course, there's no shortage of topics in the Heights, as you well know.
Yeah.
Well, look, first, it's a pretty crowded field. It's the most crowded field so far. We have a handful of candidates, and the most notable thing, though, is that the incumbent, Yousef Saleh, running for assembly now on Mayor Stephen Fulop's ticket. So what do you think of the dynamics of this race, and how does that impact your approach?
Yeah, thanks again for having me on.
Of course.
It is still a crowded field, but I feel really confident that, whether it's 4 of us in the race, 3 of us in the race, 5 of us in the race, my campaign is going to be able to get our message out there that Jersey City is not working for working class people, and that we need to build a movement and build an organization to make it actually work for working people and put ordinary folks who live in the Heights and the slopes across Jersey City at the helm of local government. And yeah, I feel confident we have the strongest platform for that and the strongest organization to make it happen too.
All right, so when we're talking affordability and beyond here in Ward D, what do you think makes you stand out from the rest?
One of the things we want to do, we've been saying housing is a human right throughout the campaign. As a leader on the Jersey City Right to Counsel campaign that won tenants' rights, guaranteed access to legal defense in housing court for tenants, we were saying housing is a human right. And happy to get more into the right to counsel work, but I think what has us stand out now in this campaign is that we can put some meat on that phrase. We want to have universal rent control in Jersey City, where we make sure that every single tenant across the entire city is covered by our rent control laws, which will make it simpler to enforce and make sure that there are no arbitrary distinctions of, hey, my last apartment was rent controlled, I moved to a different building, now I'm not rent control. So get rid of those arbitrary distinctions and make sure that everyone deserves that same kind of guarantee that they're not going to be priced out. We also have some good ideas to make sure that we get rid of the mandatory broker's fee for tenants, have a vacancy tax on empty properties. So I'm really excited that we can tackle affordability in Jersey City with, that kind of umbrella phrase of housing is a human right, but we have some really solid plans for making sure that people can stay in their homes in Jersey City. Okay,
let's unpack that a little bit. So you mentioned universal rent control. First of all, is there precedent for this anywhere else? And secondly, how would that work? Just in a few words, if you could. So say someone's paying, I don't know, really low rent, let's say $1,250 versus $4,500, how would that come to fruition?
Yeah, other cities across the country are trying it, but we are an unprecedented city in terms of topping the charts by some measures of being the most expensive city to rent a home in the entire country. So we should be really bold and setting the standard for making sure that all tenants have access to this guarantee of rent control. And Code 260, which houses in our municipal code, the landlord-tenant law, this says that rent for those covered by this rent control can only go up 4% or by the consumer price index increase, whichever is lower. And so regardless if you have that $1,250 apartment or if you have that $4K apartment, to make sure that it can't get shot up to an exorbitant amount, but that it could only go up by that 4% or that CPI increase, whichever is lower.
All right, so basically it would eliminate those, as many have called them, unconscionable rent increases 20, 30%.
Exactly. And, we see illegal rent hikes, even for units that are under rent control in Jersey City, and our city is failing to enforce our own rent control laws on the books right now. So again, expanding this to make it universal, cover everyone, is going to make that simpler to enforce and empower more renters.
All right, yeah, I can see that. So on another note, I know you've been to quite a few rallies opposing U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Of course, we know them as ICE, and you've been very pro-immigration. And actually, you had a joint editorial with another candidate, Joel Brooks, saying that you don't want to see ICE in Jersey City at all. So why did you think that this was an important topic for you to get ahead of it and just be very vocal on?
Yeah, I've been organizing around immigration justice for years before I was a candidate. And I organized years ago when I first came to the Heights to shut down the ICE jail in Hudson County because we knew that an ICE jail in our county would only further incentivize these kind of arrests and raids in our communities, and we didn't want to stand for that. So we organized to pressure the county executive at the time, Tom DeGeese, to make sure that we shut down that ICE detention center in our county government, and it did get shut down. Obviously, we see Delaney Hall opening in Newark, Trump's new ICE detention facility, so we got to make sure that doesn't creep back into Hudson County, certainly not back into Jersey City, because this is a city of immigrants. We have, I think, 40% of our city, the population is born in another country besides the United States. The Heights is certainly a representation of so many international communities and people. So this is something to be celebrated, not to attack and to run away from. So I feel it's really important to continue to be involved and be vocal that immigrants are welcome in Jersey City, and we're not going to stand for Trump's escalation of attacks on our immigrant communities.
All right, point taken. There's a lot more there, but we're just going to take a quick break, so don't go anywhere, Jake. Folks, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
No one plans on heart disease, but everyone should have a plan for it. We help patients of all lifestyles and medical histories plan for healthy hearts. We offer convenient screenings without judgment, hundreds of preventive programs, and women's heart specialists. And we're the largest cardiac surgery program in New Jersey. Make plans for a healthy heart with RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
Hudson County View Live Uncut. Chowder Heidice still here with Jersey City Ward D Council candidate Jake Ephros. So back on this conversation about ICE. So as far as I know, there's only been one confirmed detention in Jersey City. But, obviously they've been active in other places, West New York, North Bergen, Union City, so on and so forth, Newark. Now, when we look at this, you see this rhetoric online, especially Facebook, for one reason or another, where people say things like, hey, I support immigrants, but I don't support illegals, I don't support aliens, and I'm fine with immigrants as long as they follow the law. So what's your response when you hear this kind of thing?
Yeah, no human being is illegal. We want to make sure everyone is welcome here. There are a lot of reasons that people come to this country for better opportunities, and we want to make sure that, every single person is welcome. We have so many law-abiding, working and tax-paying immigrant residents here in Jersey City, and we want to make sure, our focus is on protecting our community and making sure that they have equal opportunities to have a good life, an affordable life here as everyone else.
Okay. Now, the other thing that kind of ties these two topics together is obviously you're a member of the DSA, and not that you have to really be incredibly intelligent. Obviously, you're talking about these universal rent controls, and you're talking about pro-immigration stance. And, you've been pretty unabashed about that. So what do you think that contributes or that helps or helped shape your campaign in any way?
Yeah, I am a proud member of Democratic Socialists of America, DSA, and I've been organizing with them for years, years before I was a candidate, because DSA is an organization of, by, and for working people, teachers like myself, UPS drivers, nurses, We come together in political organization because we want to see a better world. We want to see a city like Jersey City where working people, not big corporate executives and their preferred politicians, are at the helm and in charge. And so certainly being a member and being an organizer is really impactful on how I see this campaign taking shape. I'm really excited to help build organization in the community. And I think it's something that sets my campaign apart from opponents' campaigns. We are rooted in a real democratic organization, a working class organization, and not just in the pockets of big donors, developers, uber rich family members. So I'm really proud to have this kind of independent stance where I'm rooted in democratic organization.
All right, yeah. So you obviously went over affordability, I think, pretty extensively. So that aside, whenever someone's running, they think it's time for change. They're not satisfied with the incumbent, obviously. So what do you think are some things that has happened in the past term and a half or so that you think shouldn't have happened, or you would have done differently, or you wouldn't have liked to see it all, so on and so forth?
I mean, certainly the failure to enforce rent control violations is a major mistake of the current administration in Jersey City, and I wish we had a much more proactive city council to really go to bat for tenants across Jersey City, but of course here in the Heights too. Further, I'm really disappointed in the Papadou vote that happened toward the end of last year. I think this is just another big mistake, big tax handout, tax abatement handout to the Kushner developers at the expense of Jersey City taxpayers. It's great that we should, bring in cultural institutions and arts institutions to Jersey City and develop those here, but we have a lot of amazing local artists that we should be working with from the ground up, not just trying to reel in big fancy French art museums to come in here at the expense of having to pay, decades of a tax abatement that we're going to struggle to figure out how to afford for years and years to come.
All right, gotcha. Now, obviously, you're running as an independent, but I'm curious, any thoughts on the mayoral race or the 32nd Legislative District Assembly race?
Yeah, still formulating thoughts on how I would vote, but no, my campaign is running independently of any other slate, and yeah, certainly I think that what we should be looking out for is who's taking money from big corporate developers, who's taking money from conservative, rich Republican donors, who's taking money from cop unions, and be really attentive to what are the strings that are being pulled on different candidates.
All right, so you're starting to narrow it down, but don't have a real horse yet.
Yeah.
Okay, and just Jake, any closing thoughts before we let you go today?
Yeah, just again, thank you for having me on. I do just want to relay the message. This is a campaign that should be bringing in lots of different people, and is going to already starting to bring in lots of different people across the Heights, the Slopes, throughout Ward D, and throughout Jersey City around common issues, making housing a human right, making sure our public schools are fully funded and adequately resourced, making sure that we have clean, green, safe streets so we can finally pick up the trash in the Heights, and that we can make Jersey City the most pro-worker and pro-immigrant city that we can be. So I'm really grateful to be campaigning right now and excited to meet more of my neighbors.
All right, Jake, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks, John.
Best of luck. See you around the neighborhood.
Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're not done yet. We'll be right back.
Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants. All major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
Panapinto Properties, Jersey City, shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces and addresses your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment, adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panapintodevelopment.com. Panapinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Hudson County View Live Uncut, Chowder Hiatus. So let's talk about this new lawsuit in Hudson County Superior Court. And this is by Hudson County Schools of Technology Board Secretary Joey Muniz. Of course, you guys know he's a North Bergen political operative as well, but making a lot of headlines since December due to this really salacious lawsuit regarding him and Superintendent of Schools Amy Lynn Rodriguez. He's alleging they had an 18-year affair, and a suspension on November 25th was all due to political retaliation. And of course, you saw a couple weeks ago that Lynn Rodriguez responded and said that this was a relationship that had a severe pattern of abuse. But this case actually has nothing to do with any of those things, other than the fact that it's the Schools of Technology. Here, Muniz is alleging that there was an Open Public Meetings Act violation back in January 2024. Now, if you guys think back, you might recall that this was a situation where there was a board vote to try to take away his personnel powers, if you will, and it failed 4-4, but the problem is that there was a public session that quickly went to executive, and the executive session doesn't have any meeting minutes. Therefore, that would theoretically be an OPMA violation, so he's calling on the court to take action. So, I mean, really, it's a pretty simple lawsuit, so I'm going to leave that there for now, and we're going to move on to a couple other topics, but we're certainly going to follow this as well as the other case quite closely. So I also mentioned at the top of the program, we got some shakeups at Bayonne City Hall, a new business administrator that I'm sure residents of the Peninsula City will be familiar with. So we heard from Mayor Jimmy Davis. He's also a Democratic candidate for Hudson County Sheriff. But be that as it may, he said, I am pleased to announce that I have appointed former Councilwoman, current Bayonne Board of Education trustee, and lifelong Bayonne resident Mary Jane Desmond as business administrator of the City of Bayonne effective March 4th, 2025. Obviously, that was yesterday. If you are unfamiliar with Mary Jean's rich pedigree as a public servant, in addition to serving as a BOA trustee, serving as a councilwoman from 1998 to 2002, she is also a former Hudson County deputy clerk and brings to the city a wealth of diverse knowledge and experience in not only municipal and county government, but also in the private sector and healthcare management. So the interesting thing here is she was actually planning to run against Davis for Bayonne Democratic Committee Chair in 2021, but she never got a motion or a second, so Davis ended up winning without being actually contested. So obviously some fences have been mended since then. And Donna Russo, who is the current business administrator, remember she was appointed at that reorg meeting in July 1st, 2022, as Davis was getting sworn in for his third term. She's going back to the law department as the assistant law director. And also of note, we see that a Bayonne resident and attorney, Michael Sheridan, is going to be working in the law department as a paralegal to give some extra help. So very quickly, Hoboken Council approves an 8-year contract for the PBA. That was a bit controversial due to its length and due to the raises. So we're going to let you check that out. And also in Hoboken, as I mentioned, the first ever Leprechaun, of course, that's at St. Patrick's Day themed bar crawl that had 0 arrests, and there were just 49 calls for service. So, of course, Mayor Ravi Bala and Public Safety Director Kenneth Ferrante, among others, quite pleased with that, as they should be. So with that, folks, we're going to let you go. Next week, I'm going to be sitting down with Jersey City Ward 8 Councilwoman Denise Ridley. You won't want to miss it. See you then.